Right now, on to the point. The top 8 candidates for governor face off tonight in another debate. Their priorities for the state. The city of Sacramento pushing for a more collaborative approach to the homelessness crisis. But it's not without pushback.
Too many layers, and the more layers you have, the less accountability you have.
The ballot fight brewing in California, how lawmakers can stop the billionaire tax battle before it reaches voters. And 6 years and $100,000, the potential savings for paying off your mortgage early and why it may be easier than you think.
We are 35 days away from the June primary election, and we are getting a new look at who's leading in the governor's race. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Alex Bell. Take a look at this latest polling from CBS News and YouGov. The poll was taken between April 23rd and April 27th, the first major poll following last week's debate. It shows Republican Steve Hilton in the lead, followed closely by Democrat Tom Steyer. Democrat Javier Becerra continues to climb in the polls, coming in ahead of Republican Chad Bianco. Now, Democrat Katie Porter is sitting at 9%, but by far the largest percentage is still 26% of voters who are undecided. And all of this comes ahead of the second major televised gubernatorial debate that is underway right now. The debate is being hosted by CBS News on the Pomona College campus in Claremont. All 8 leading candidates, 2 Republicans and 6 Democrats, are on the stage right now. Now, political strategists say just about a month out from the primary election is when voters really start paying attention. So for candidates, that means now is the time to start emptying their bank accounts, campaign ads, attack ads. What will help lower polling candidates like Antonio Villaraigosa and Tony Thurmond move up?
In the NFL red zone parlance, we call this the witching hour, where wins become losses and losses become wins, right? This is still anybody's ball game. Start to sort of get to that top, that game of whack-a-mole begins and everybody's mallets come out and start pounding on them. And we're starting to see it now. Tom Steyer is starting to do some negative ads against Javier Becerra.
If you're one of the leaders, right, is to do no harm and basically don't make any mistakes. Anybody who is kind of punching up, they need to assert themselves. And so that's where you're going to see some of the action. Visually, I mean, you've got Yosemite Sam versus like the British guy.
And ballots will head to voters starting next week. Primary election day is on June 2nd, and there will be another major televised debate next Tuesday. But tonight, a proposed billionaire tax is shaping up to land on California's voters' ballots this November, and it's polarizing Democratic Party leaders. But a California law could give lawmakers a way to stop the billionaire tax battle before it reaches voters. Monica Madden has that story for us tonight.
As supporters of a billionaire tax march toward putting the proposal on the ballot, opposition is ramping up, including from California's top Democrat.
It's a badly drafted effort. It's already had an outsized impact on the state.
Governor Gavin Newsom had been working to quash the effort, but told reporters in January there may be no middle ground on a labor-led proposal to tax billionaires' assets.
I don't know what there is to compromise.
So how would this even work? Under state law, once a measure qualifies for the ballot, supporters can take it off up to 131 days before the election if lawmakers pass a deal they're willing to accept.
A strategy that can be used and is used. Most of the time, this doesn't happen, but it's happened 11 times since 2020.
And with this November election tracking to be California's first billion-dollar ballot, the incentive to strike a deal can be just as powerful.
It's very expensive to collect enough signatures to be eligible, but it's a lot less expensive than running a campaign in California.
Expenses aside, political observers note voters might prefer a legislative solution.
Only 1 out of 3 of the initiatives that are on the ballot will pass. So chances are that voters will say, even if they like the idea and concept, like, yeah, let's tax wealthy people, that they don't want to make a mistake. So the default is to vote no. It's likely that we will see at least an attempt to work something out.
And Governor Newsom's office did not respond to questions about any ongoing negotiations with the labor groups leading this ballot initiative. A spokesperson for the billionaire tax measure says they have not heard from legislative leaders, but are determined to get this on the ballot. All right, let's get into a new bill that was introduced today in Sacramento that aims to protect against outside interference in California elections. Senate Bill 73 would protect against the deploying the military at voting locations by expanding provisions of another bill that Governor Newsom signed into law last year. It made it a crime in California to order or arrange for federal, state, or local law enforcement agents to be deployed to voting locations without county elections authorization. The new bill has an urgency clause that would allow its provisions to take effect for the June 2nd primary if it's signed into law by the governor in time. Who is in charge of solving homelessness in the region, and does that need to change? Sacramento City Council members are taking up that question at a meeting right now. ABC's Becca Habegger is following the debate. And Becca, talk a little bit more about what they are deciding.
Yeah, Alex, council members tonight are choosing between three very different visions for how Sacramento County and the cities within it tackle homelessness. And the stakes are high right now because no single body is calling the shots. And the question is, how much are those partners willing to give up to make that happen?
People experiencing homelessness throughout Sacramento County, from unincorporated areas to the cities, is a problem local elected leaders say they want to fix.
Get people off of the streets on a more effective, efficient way today.
But for the better part of 2 decades, the response has been spread across a patchwork of agencies, nonprofits, and elected bodies that don't always work in sync.
I think we need a single, visible, accountable entity, a place where our jurisdictions meet regularly. Decisions are made in public, and the community knows exactly where to go. And to me, that means a joint powers authority.
That's Sacramento City Council member Katie Maple at a city council meeting back in January, when members discussed forming a joint powers authority, or JPA. That's a formal legal structure that would voluntarily bring together multiple local governments under shared leadership for a specific purpose. In this case, to set shared policy on homelessness. Mayor Kevin McCarty is generally in favor.
We'd like to have a JPA. We know that we're one party of this. We can't force others to say yes.
At that meeting, council members directed city staff to develop options for them to consider. Now, across the country, federal homelessness dollars are distributed through regional hubs called Continuums of Care, or COC. The least invasive option before council members Tuesday is establishing a JPA totally separate from the existing COC. Elected leaders within the JPA would coordinate on policy, and local dollars would stay local. A middle option merges a newly formed JPA with the COC, all working on funding and policy together, while cities still maintain control of local dollars. The most sweeping option would consolidate everything into one brand new agency, and all funding would be pooled.
Too many layers, and the more layers you have, the less accountability you have.
Sacramento County Supervisor Rosario Rodriguez says she's all for collaboration, but worries more layers of bureaucracy could make taxpayer money vulnerable.
When you add more bureaucracy to an already overwhelmed system, what you have are potential risks when it comes to actual funding and fraud and abuse of funds.
She worries pooling local funds, as the most sweeping option would do, could result in county funds flowing into cities instead of helping folks in the unincorporated areas.
This is all still very preliminary, we should mention. If Sacramento City Council members approve an option tonight, it then has to be presented to the other large cities in the county and the county supervisors to gauge their interest. Again, that will go to the county supervisors, and they have their big say as well. And this is about joining a joint powers authority, and we should remind you that is entirely voluntary, so it's not even guaranteed each of these local governments would want to be a part of it. So lots of room to go. Alex.
All right, Becca, thank you so much. Still ahead, a new fight emerging over President Donald Trump's $400 million White House ballroom, this time over security. And paying off a mortgage in less than 30 years, why experts say it can be easier than you think.
And temperatures for the next few days is going to be in the 80s. In fact, I've got some middle 80s by the end of the work week. Cooler for the weekend, though. I've got a full look at the forecast after the break.
But first, another headlines tonight. Former FBI Director James Comey was indicted again today over a controversial Instagram post. The controversy erupted nearly a year ago when Comey, in a since-deleted Instagram post, shared a picture showing the numbers 8647 written in seashells on the beach with the caption, "Cool shell formation on my beach walk." Prosecutors interpreted the numbers as a threat to eliminate President Trump. Gas prices jumped to their highest since August of 2022. According to AAA, gas averaged $4.18 a gallon today. In California, the cost is even higher at $5.96 a gallon for regular gas, about $2 a gallon more for diesel. Concerns over stalled talks and shipping through the Strait of Hormuz are pushing costs higher, while U.S. gas inventories continue to drop. And a change is coming to some U.S. passports. Today, the State Department announced a limited number of new passports will include an image of President Donald Trump. The addition of the president's picture and signature is being done to help mark the country's 250th birthday. The State Department will begin issuing the passports this summer.
It was another beautiful day, and I heard that we're getting actually warmer tomorrow. Let's take a look at the forecast with meteorologist Brendan Minchef.
Yeah, we were seasonal today in the 70s, but tomorrow we're going to be back in the 80s, and it'll be one of the warmer days that we've had since the start of the month because the middle of April has really been pretty cool. It's been showery, below normal, but that's all changing over the next few days. 76 again, that's what we had this afternoon. 76 in Stockton, 75 in Modesto, 50s in the high country, and that departure from normal within a couple degrees. Again, exactly where we'd expect to be for late April. Over the last several hours, we did have some rain, a little bit of snow in the high country, but we did not have anything in the valley. We were completely dry in the very low elevation. 75 in Sacramento at the moment, 74 in Stockton, 73 in Modesto, 66 in Jackson, 44 in Tahoe, and 50 in Truckee. So we look towards Sutter Health Park. Maybe you're off to the athletics game tonight. 75 degrees right now, 7 degrees warmer than 24 hours ago. Clear skies for the duration of the evening and through the overnight. Temperatures falling through the 60s, and we'll start off tomorrow morning in the upper 40s and right near 50. In Sacramento, 48 in Vacaville, 49 in Fairfield, 48 in Stockton, 50 in Modesto, 45 in Angels Camp, 49 Auburn, 28 in Truckee, and 29 in Tahoe. Wednesday afternoon, like I said, warmer than where we were today. Low 80s in the valley, 80 in Sacramento, 81 Stockton, 81 in Modesto, 82 Manteca and Tracy, 84 up in Colusa, 75 in Angels Camp and Jackson, 63 in Truckee, and 59 in Tahoe. That normal high, 76. We're going to be right near 80 across most of the valley. This model not really showing anything in the high country tomorrow, but there is still going to be a chance for some showers in the Sierra tomorrow, just more isolated than the last few days. Warmer even still on Thursday and Friday. Temperatures about 10 degrees warmer than normal in those middle 80s. Got a little bit of a weird weather pattern here. High pressure builds just for the end of the week, but then continues to move. We could end up with a cutoff low next week, meandering its way through California. That could bring us a chance for some showers in the valley. Not expecting any in the valley right now, but I am expecting more in the high country next week. We'll also have some cooler temperatures next week in the valley, but the immediate forecast, warm in the 80s. Alex?
All right, Brendan, thank you. Stay with us. Right after the break, Disney responding to an unusual move from the FCC today, why they are being told to renew their broadcast licenses years early. And British royalty visits the nation's capital. What was in King Charles' message of unity? Today, the FCC filed an order requiring ABC-owned television stations to renew their broadcast licenses early. The action impacts 8 ABC stations owned by Disney. Disney has until May 28th to file the renewals. It's an extraordinary move because the licenses aren't due for renewal for several years. The FCC claims the early renewal requests are part of a probe into Disney's DEI practices. This also comes after the First Lady called out Jimmy Kimmel for what she called atrocious behavior over the comedian's recent jabs at the president and her marriage. Tonight, Disney said in a statement, in part quote, "We are confident that record demonstrates our continued qualifications as licensees under the Communications Act and the First Amendment, and are prepared to show that through that the appropriate legal channels, Our focus remains, as always, on serving viewers in the local communities where our stations operate." And we do want to mention that ABC 10 is an affiliate of ABC and is not owned by Walt Disney Company. 2 days after the attack at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, the Trump administration is demanding they be allowed to continue building the president's $400 million ballroom, saying that it is essential for national security. Now, the construction of the project has been highly controversial. President Trump, without prior approval, tore down the historic White House East Wing to make way for the sprawling facility that will accommodate 999 people with a military hub below it. A lawsuit claims the White House violated the law by moving forward without congressional approval, but the DOJ is now urging a judge to let them move forward in light of the attack. Republicans are now proposing 2 bills to move the ballroom along.
Well, I've been up here for a while now. I've never felt the sense of threat that exists today. There's so much out there. There's so many disturbed people that are just one click away from feeling like they've got to fix America by killing somebody.
Both bills are likely to face trouble moving forward. They would need 60 votes to pass, and it seems unlikely that Democrats would join in. A historic visit in Washington is marked by King Charles' speech to Congress today. It comes at a strained moment in the U.S. and U.K. relationship, but the King's plea today is to endure the challenges and keep our alliance strong. The King attended meetings with President Trump and congressional leadership before addressing the entire House and Senate. Clouding the King's visit today are major political differences with the war with Iran, back and forth tariffs, and ongoing investigations about Jeffrey Epstein's international sex trafficking network. During his speech today, the King referenced overall challenges facing each country and the importance of enduring them together.
Whatever our differences, whatever disagreements we may have, we stand united in our commitment to uphold democracy.
This was just the second joint meeting between Congress and a British monarch ever. The first was 35 years ago when the King's mother, Queen Elizabeth, was met with a standing ovation. And tomorrow, the royal family will travel to New York to visit the September 11th memorial. Then will return to D.C., the D.C. area, to mark America's 250th birthday. The royal visit ends on Thursday. All right, let's get into some price points here for millions of Americans. A mortgage is the biggest bill that you'll ever carry, but what if you could pay it off a little bit ahead schedule? Ivan Rodriguez shares why paying off your mortgage early could be a good decision and what it means for your wallet.
For many Americans, a mortgage is a 30-year commitment. But what if it didn't have to be? Ted Rossman with Bankrate says paying off your mortgage isn't just a dream. It could be a strategy, and the numbers might surprise you.
Even one extra mortgage payment a year can trim 6 years off a 30-year mortgage. And that can save you $110,000 in interest if you're borrowing $400,000. So that's pretty amazing.
That extra payment could come by way of a tax refund, year-end bonuses, or even a third paycheck some workers get 2 months out of the year. All of it could go straight toward your principal. Depending on your interest rate, it could be even more advantageous.
Now, it also makes more sense if you're prepaying at 6% versus if you're prepaying at 3%. Like if you're borrowing at 3%, that's a really low rate.
While others might argue that your money could work harder in the stock market, which has historically averaged around 10% annually, Rossman believes living mortgage-free provides people with security and the ability to take more risks with their investments. If you do pay off your mortgage early, he says it's important to still leave enough cushion in savings to cover maintenance, property taxes, and insurance.
I do feel like some of this will come more into play the more rates stay elevated, home prices are elevated. There aren't as many people moving right now. So this could also lead you to try to get that peace of mind of being mortgage-free where you are.
I'm Ivan Rodriguez reporting.
When we come back, a look ahead to what we're working on for our later show. Well, this just in, a 2.8 magnitude earthquake just recorded in Granite Bay. We are working to get more information. We know that people have reported feeling it. We will have more on air and online as we get more information. But before we go, don't forget tonight's gubernatorial debate is just wrapping up. ABC 10 political reporter Jenny Hubb will break down the biggest moments and the candidates' highs and lows. That will be coming up at 11. Plus, the Sacramento City Council is voting on several key issues tonight. We'll have the details on those decisions as well. Don't forget, you can always watch our show anytime, anywhere by downloading our free ABC 10 app. As always, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you tomorrow.